everyone, it's Jennifer from Fiberflux. In this video, we're going to learn how to crochet this gorgeous Berry Smoothie Cowl. This is so easy to make. It's just a simple fan stitch with some double crochets and some chains. So super easy, and it has a lovely lacy look. I did this in some cotton blend yarn, so it's a nice like warm weather project, or you can wear it as an accessory in the colder months. Now, I made this into a long loop, so you could wear this as a long loop around your neck like this, or you can give it a little bit of a twist and kind of double it up. And let me just kind of straighten it out a little bit, but you can kind of double it up here and kind of wear it loosely too as a cowl, and it looks really pretty. It's very versatile. You can hop on over to the Fiberflux blog and see all the different ways I styled it. Before we get started, be sure and hit that subscribe button to get all the latest Fiberflux video updates. It helps the channel, it supports the channel, and I really appreciate it so much. So there are lots of ways to get this pattern. You can get this as a free written pattern over at the Fiberflux blog. You can get the full video tutorial today with me, and will always be on the channel for you to check out anytime. You can also get the ad-free pattern PDF over at the Ravelry shop and my Etsy shop as well. And you can join our Patreon community to get the ad-free PDFs of the month's patterns that I release as well. So let's get started. Okay, so let's talk about sizing first. The finished piece measures about 6 inches wide and has a circumference all the way around of 60 inches. So this is, as a side note, it's a piece you can really customize. You can change the width of this by just changing up the multiple. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Or you can really change the circumference of this just by working less rows, because we're just going to be making basically a scarf and seaming it up. So working more or less rows will change the circumference. So it is very customizable. And then you can also customize it a little bit by, if you want to make it, when we talked about the circumference, you could just make a small loop, or you can make a large loop and double it up if need be. For this project, you'll need a pair of scissors, a tapestry needle. A tape measure is super helpful, especially if you want to scale the size of your project a little bit. We're going to talk about multiples and how to change the width of your project, and also by working more or less rows to change the circumference of your project. So having a tape measure on hand will be super helpful for that. We're going to be using a 3.75 millimeter F crochet hook for this. And then let's talk about this beautiful yarn I have here. This is something new from Hobbii called Friends Cotton Linen. This is a cotton viscose linen blend. It's very soft, comes in bright colors. I have here a bright blue and hot pink twist, so it's really fun. From far away, it kind of looks magenta or purpley, but up close, you can see there's some blue and pink twists. So it's a really fun yarn, nice and lightweight, just a perfect warm weather yarn, I think. And this is a cotton viscose linen blend, just as a side note. Now, each ball of this is 174 yards. So we're going to be using a total of 348 yards of this yarn. And if you need to substitute yarn, just look on the yarn label for this little yarn ball with a number in it. This is a 1 superfine, so just look for a yarn of that weight. Now, this yarn in particular recommends a D crochet hook, but we're going to be using an F crochet hook, the 3.75 millimeter. I'm going to go up a couple of hook sizes just to give us a little bit more, give the piece a little bit more drape. Now, I get this question a lot about changing yarn, changing hook sizes. What I would recommend is to work up a little swatch, or even like the first couple of rows of the pattern, and just see if the stitches are kind of presenting the way you want them to look, if everything's draping nicely, and so forth. So let's get started. Okay, so I have my hook and my yarn, and we're ready to go. Now, like I mentioned before, we're going to talk about the multiples if you need to scale your project and make it wider or narrower. The multiple is 6 plus 4. We're going to be doing a really pretty kind of open fan stitch. And so our multiple of 6 plus 4, if you're not familiar, is going to be when you're doing your starting chain, you're going to work in groups of 6. So 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6, and so forth until you get about the width that you want, and then add 4 more chains onto that. Okay, so within that 6 plus 4 multiple, we're going to do a starting chain of 40. Okay, again, you can change that, but just stay in the multiple to get so your stitches will come out right. Okay, so to begin, we're going to put a slip knot on our hook, and I'm just going to zoom in just the tiniest bit so you can see better. We're going to put a slip knot on our hook. So wrap the yarn around your fingers to make a loop, bring the yarn behind the loop, reach in with your hook, bring up that loop, and then tighten, okay? So again, 40 chains. To make a chain, wrap the yarn around the hook and bring it through the loop. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 37, 38, 39, and 40. Okay, so here is our starting chain, and you can kind of get a sense of the width that it's going to be going by that starting chain. Again, if you need to change it, again, the multiple is 6 plus 4, okay? Okay, so let's move on to row 1. Row 1 is going to be kind of the way we're going to set all the stitches up, and then row 2 is the row you're going to repeat over and over for the rest of the piece, okay? So really easy, nice, open, pretty, lacy fan. Okay, so what we want to do is we're going to work our first fan in the 6th chain from the hook. Okay. So this loop here does not count. So go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So in that 6th chain from the hook, we're going to work 2 double crochets to begin. So to make a double crochet, wrap the yarn around the hook, insert it into that chain that we just talked about, and then bring up a loop. Wrap yarn around hook, bring through the first 2 loops, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops. If you notice, I'm going really slowly. With fine yarn like this, it's a little fiddly and you might want to take it slow, at least at first when you're setting everything up. Okay, so that was 1 double crochet. In that same chain, work another double crochet. And then we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and then in the same chain, work 2 more double crochet, okay? So 1 double crochet and 2 double crochet, just like that, okay? All right, now we're gonna keep working across. So what we wanna do now is skip 5 chains. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in the chain after that, we're gonna do another fan. So work 2 double crochet, 1, and 2. Again, go nice and slow if it's a little fiddly for you. Some of that thin yarn sometimes can be like that. Then we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and in the same chain, 2 double crochet. So 1 and 2, just like that, okay? So we have 2 little fans here that we're beginning with, okay? Next, we're going to skip 5 chains again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in the chain after that, we'll make another fan. So 2 double crochet, 1 and 2, chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and 2 double crochet all in the same chain, okay? So 1 double crochet and 2 double crochet. Just like that, okay? Once again, skip 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in the chain after that, work another fan. So 2 double crochet, 1 and 2, chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and 2 double crochet all in that same fan. So 1 and 2, okay? Just like that. Now we're going to skip 5 chains again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in the chain after that, work your next fan. 2 double crochet, 1 and 2, chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and 2 double crochet in that same chain. 1 and 2. Okay, you can see we're getting a nice little row of fans across here. Okay, moving right along, skip 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in the chain after that, work your next fan. 2 double crochet, 1 and 2, then chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and 2 double crochet. 1 and 2, okay? Now, we've come to the end of the row and we should just have 4 chains left. So what you're going to do is skip 3 chains, and in that very last chain, what we're going to do is work 1 double crochet to finish the row, okay? So just work a double crochet in that very last chain, okay? And there you go. Now, if you did the same chain 40 as me and didn't change your starting chain and the multiples, you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fans across, okay? So let's move on to row 2, okay? So for row 2, what we're gonna do, now this first row I will say was a little bit more to do because we had to count and skip chains and things like that. This next row is super easy because we're just going to be working into spaces, okay? So for row 3, we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3, turn our work, and then what we're going to do is in these chain 3 spaces. So over on the written pattern, it's going to be called the chain 3 space. So remember we did 2 double crochet, chain 3, 2 double crochet. That chain 3 made a space. So the chain 3 space, we're going to work a fan into that chain 3 space, okay? So what we're going to do in that space is work 2 double crochet, same way we've been doing our fans in the last row. So 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and 2 double crochet, all in that same chain 3 space, okay? Just like that. Okay, and now you can see our little fans are stacked one on top of the other, and it's nice and open and kind of airy looking. Okay, let's work across together. So go over to the next fan in that chain 3 space and do the same thing. 2 double crochet, 1 and 2, and chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and 2 double crochet, all in that same chain 3 space. Okay. Hop over to the next fan in that chain 3 space, work 2 double crochet, 1 and 2, and chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and 2 double crochet, all in that same space. So 1 and 2, okay? Hop over to the next fan, and in that chain 3 space once again, we're going to work, and I'm just going to zoom out a little bit because we're starting to get a little bit more on our row here. But in that same chain 3 space, let's work 2 double crochet, same thing we've been doing, 1 and 2, and chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and 2 double crochet, all in that same chain 3 space, okay? Next fan, same thing, 2 double crochet, 1 and 2, and chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and 2 double crochet, all in that same chain 3 space, okay? Now we worked across, we just have one more fan here, so do the same thing. In that chain 3 space, work 2 double crochet, 1 and 2, chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and 2 double crochet, all in that same chain 3 space. Okay, and now to finish the row, what we're going to do is we're going to have a turning chain space. So you see your fan, you have your 2 double crochets here, the opening, 2 double crochets here, and at the end is our turning chain. That created a space. So right in that turning chain space, work a double crochet to finish the row, okay? Just like that. All right, so we have some beautiful little open fans here. You can kind of straighten them out if you want to after each row. So what we're going to do now is keep repeating row 2 over and over and over again until our cowl is as long as we would like it to be, or until we run out of our yarn, whatever comes first. So we're going to keep going. Now I'm going to give you some measurements and talk about how long it was in just a second, but keep repeating row 2 over and over and over again. Now, just a word about this. You could make this so it's one long loop that you wrap around. You could make it short up, like the kind of hugs up around the neck, or you can make it a long loop that hangs nice and low. You can make it really long and have it double around your neck. It's really up to you how long you want it to be. So we talked about multiples to make the width what we want it to be. Now it's time to do the length. So you just repeat row 2 over and over again until it's going to be a long rectangle, and then we're going to seam it up. So you want want to make this as long as you want it to be. I'm going to keep going and work through this yarn. And when we rejoin, I'll give you some measurements as to how far we've gotten. All right, we're just coming up to the end of the last row here, working that last double crochet here. And our piece is done. We're done with the crochet part. We do need to seam it still. You actually could wear this as a traditional scarf if you prefer, but I'm going to seam mine just to give it like a nice loop so it stays put. So what we want to do, I have just a little bit of yarn for seaming that I've saved. You don't want to go quite to the end if you want to seam it. You want to save a couple yards for seaming. Not a lot. It's a very short little seam that we're going to do. But pull yourself out about a yard or two, give it a snip, and then what we're going to do is we're going to wrap the yarn around the hook to fasten off. So wrap it around the hook and then just pull the yarn all the way through that loop and just tighten it down. Next, we're going to seam this up. So grab your piece and we're going to straighten it out. You could put, if you want to put a decorative twist in it, you could, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep mine more cylindrical. And so we're going to spin this around. We've kind of lined everything up and we're going to spin this around here. And what we'll do now is grab our tapestry needle and our long end that we cut. And we're going to just thread the tapestry needle. And we're going to hold these two edges together. Now you may notice that one edge of this is pretty straight and one edge of this is scalloped. It's okay, we're going to seam it and it's going to kind of blend in together. Okay, so you want to start, we're going to do a whip stitch, and if you're not familiar with a whip stitch, all that means is it's just using a matching piece of yarn for it to blend and not show your seam, but it's just kind of like a spiral through your work. Okay, so you're going to go through one layer and then we're going to go into the other layer. Now make sure you go through both loops of each layer. So you're actually going to have like 4 loops that you're going through. Okay, and we're just going to pull this all the way through and we're just going to do this all the way across. So hold your edges together like a little sandwich. Actually, let me just come in a little bit closer so you can see better. And we're just going to seam that up. Nice, neat, invisible seam. Now some of these ends, we're going to take care of those in a minute. They're going to kind of, this one's kind of getting in the way as I seam, but it's okay. We'll deal with that in just a minute. But we're just going to go all the way across with our seam. All right, we're just coming up to the end of the row here. And I'm just working those last few stitches. Now I had plenty with my yard of tail here. I had plenty of tail to work with to seam it. So just, you know, if yours was as wide as mine was, a yard was plenty. Okay, so now I'm just going to open this up a little bit so I'm on the right track here. I like to just come right around that rounded edge just so it doesn't look like a dip in your work. It looks like straight across. Okay. Now let's go in one more time. And before we go almost all the way through, what I'm going to do is leave a loop here. And I'm going to send my needle through it just to put a knot in it and fasten off. And I'm going to do that twice. Whenever I make something that I'm wearing, I like to put 2 knots in it just for good measure. And then while this is still on your needle, let's open up this seam and look at it here. While this yarn is still in your needle, go ahead and weave that in because we're going to weave in some other ends in next. So we'll just do this one first. So go in one direction with your needle and then come back in the other direction with your needle. And then grab your scissors and we're just going to give it a little snip. And that end is all done. So look for any other ends. You'll probably have one here where you began. And then if you use multiple, I'm going to zoom out just a hair so you can see. But if you use multiple balls of yarn like I did, you might have a couple more here and there. So just thread that needle and just do the same thing for all of your other ends. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and weave in my ends. And then when we come back, we'll look at our beautiful handiwork at what we've done. Okay, we've woven in all of our ends, and I just wanted to show you our seam looks really nice. Our shells are sort of stacked on top of one another at our seam, just like the rest of the piece. So I just wanted to show you that seam. I didn't show you that earlier. So you can kind of straighten that out if you need to, and then just sort of straighten everything out. All of our ends are woven in, and it looks amazing. So that is how you crochet the Berry Smoothie Cowl. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the subscribe button to get all the latest Fiberflux video updates. Thanks again.